Hello Satish, welcome
Hello.
to ENLITE.
Thank you.
And congratulations on your outstanding success in Civil Services 2017 exam.
Thanks again.
So from what I know, you are a graduate in Mechanical Engineering and a postgraduate in Aerospace Engineering.
True.
So how and when did your journey with Civil Services begin?
Actually began while I was working with L&T. After my postgrad, I was working with L&T Defense and Aerospace Department. So we used to have a lot of international defense deals and things like that. And whenever such thing used to happen, it used to be mediated by the people from Foreign Service and Defense Service. So after having such conversations with them, I actually got an opportunity to meet some of them and to have a conversation with them. So it's from then on that I thought, I actually started thinking about this as a career option. Because until then, I didn't give any serious thought about this as a career option.
Okay.
So that was the turning point, if at all you could tell, something like that.
Okay, could you brief us a little bit about your background?
Basically, I'm from Kannur, Payanur, to be more precise. Had my schooling, everything done from Payanur PES Vidyalaya,
Okay.
which is run by the same mother institution that runs Payanur College as well.
Okay.
Post that, I had my graduation in mechanical engineering from Trivandrum Government Engineering College, Barton Hill.
Okay.
And 2011-13, I have been in IIT Kanpur doing my postgrad in aerospace department. After 2015 till 2015, I was with L&T and resigned in 2015. And since 2016, I've been in Trivandrum. So 2016, I gave my second attempt. My first attempt I gave in 2015 itself while I was working.
Okay.
But then I couldn't clear the prelims. I missed the prelims by almost like 0.6 marks. So I resigned my job and then came to Trivandrum. 2016, I was able to give my interview, but then my optionals didn't go very well. So finally, I missed by 2 marks. So this is my third attempt, and yeah, things went a bit better, I'll say.
Okay. So since prelims is coming near, I would like to ask something about that.
Sure.
So you gave your first attempt in 2015 and
Yes.
then you cleared prelims in 16 and 17.
Yeah.
So what went wrong in 15 and what updation did you do to your preparation in 16 and 17?
Actually, everything went wrong in 2015.
Okay.
Because for one, because I was working, and that too, most of my projects are defense related. I had to travel a lot, which means literally I was deprived of time to sit and study. And even current affairs, I mean, I used to see newspapers like once in a week or something like that, which I felt is grossly inadequate. And even to finish the static subjects, you need some time. You can definitely do your job and prepare, but then before that you should have covered your static subjects, which I had not done. And that was one big mistake, and I had to travel a lot, which again deprived me a lot of time.
Okay.
So these things got corrected once I resigned from my job.
Okay. Now coming to this exam, civil service exam, it's unique for the very fact that it's a year-long process.
Yeah.
So, and yeah, at times people might need more than an attempt to clear it. So how did you hold your ground? What was your motivation? How did you keep your motivation consistent all through these years?
That's a very personal question. I mean, I think that different people will have their own strategies. And for me, at times I used to be very pessimistic.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a deliberate process. I used to have some very pessimistic thoughts to keep myself going. I used to think that at the end of the day, if you clear the exam, you don't clear the exam, you are gonna die. And you are not gonna take anything back. I mean, Alexander, I mean, he is one person whom I would like everybody to remember. I mean, he died with both his hands outside the coffin, telling the whole world that Alexander, who conquered the world, died without taking anything. So I used to remember that every now and then to remind me that it's okay to fail. Even if you fail, even if you win, you are gonna die and you are not gonna take anything back. And it doesn't matter much what you have achieved in this world, because unless you are people like Gandhi or Nehru, after 2 generations you won't be remembered at all.
Okay.
So I know that's a very pessimistic thought, but it did help me. That's why I said it's a very personal method for everybody. But this pessimistic thought actually helped me continue the whole process.
Okay.
And a lot. I mean, I used to be in all kind of activities. Even when it was during the exam times, I used to go for movies with my friends and go for almost every program in and around Trivandrum, because from what little traveling I have done in my life, I have felt that after Chennai, Trivandrum is probably the most culturally vibrant city in India. So it offers you a lot of opportunity, film festival, folk festival, music concerts and Nishagandhi and things like that. and I used to try to keep myself engaged in sporting activities, Jimmy Josh, badminton, marathons, and all kinds of things like that. And that's something which I'll suggest everybody who is running through this, because this is like a marathon. This is not a sprint. You think that you can cover it in 1 year, it may not be exactly like that. You can think, I did that in my graduation, I did this in my postgrad, I studied there, but none of that will matter once you are in this particular race. This is exactly like a marathon, and the only thing that you have to keep is your perseverance, patience, and it's okay to be frustrated. So acknowledge that it's okay to be frustrated, but you have to keep that frustration in certain limits, and in keeping that, things like workouts or badminton or whatever aggressive sporting activities, for me that's a kind of more aggressive sporting activity that did help a lot.
Okay. Now coming to the second level, that's the mains exam.
Yeah.
So what was your strategy for the mains exam?
Like
The general papers.
it's very simple. I mean, I used to think it very simple. What is every answer at the end of the day? Every answer is like a small article. You're writing an answer means you are writing a small article, and a small article is nothing but a small essay. So basically, if you want your answer to be good, it should have all the qualities of a good essay.
Okay.
Meaning it should be simple, it should have the bare minimum amount of facts. You should not be piling it up with facts, because nobody has that much memory to remember all the facts that you have written and give you marks. They will only look for those facts which are very important. The rest is the impression you leave upon them, which includes a good introduction, a good conclusion, a good continuity in your points. So all these things. So basically it should be like a good readable article. So that's what I keep in my mind every time I write an answer, and keep it as much logical as possible.
How was your time management? Was that an issue when it came to mains?
Definitely it was a big issue, because my entire academy and my career, it was from engineering background. So the only thing I am used to is writing numbers.
Okay.
At the max we used to write a few, maybe a paragraph or two at times, that's it. But writing 20-21 questions, and that too all of them descriptive in nature, for writing for 3 hours, getting the fingers hurt, that's a completely new experience for me, and I'm sure it might be the same for most of the people who are now coming into this, because there is a huge population which is coming from engineering background. So yes, that was a big issue, but I guess the test series actually did help a lot. The test series actually, it gives you some sort of platform to see how much to write, what to write, how to write certain things, how you can skip certain things conveniently and still have that decent amount of mark. And whenever you find something that you absolutely don't know anything about, how to still beat around the bush.
Okay.
So these things did help a lot, particularly with the test series and things like that.
Okay. Now coming to your optional subject, it was Malayalam. So
Yes.
why Malayalam?
Like you have already said regarding my background, I have my postgrad in aerospace engineering, and post that I worked in defense, which again quite related to aerospace engineering. But apparently aerospace engineering is not there in the options list. So my only option was either to go for mechanical engineering, but then it has already been like 5 years, and for me going back to mechanical engineering and studying it from basics would be quite hectic. Then I thought of my remaining options, and I felt that if I'm taking any other subject, be that psychology, be that sociology, PubAd, whatever that subject be, I'll have to take somebody's help, which actually I do not want to. I did not want to do that. I did not want to go and sit in a class and study the things.
So basically Malayalam preparation was all by yourself.
Yeah, that was my motive when I actually chose Malayalam literature. I thought that after all it is Malayalam, I can read it and understand it, if not for anything else.
Okay.
And there are sufficient materials that are available in and out. So I thought that would be a good option.
Okay. Now coming to the recent trend of the exam, it's mostly current affairs based. So how was your current affairs preparation? Was it confined to Hindu, or did you go through various internet sources and all that?
I personally never felt that it is confined to current affairs actually.
Okay.
But what I felt is that it will always be a reflection upon the society.
Okay.
If you want to call it current affairs, well, that is perfectly fine. But for example, for the prelims part, I have always felt that the static part will definitely cover like 55 to 60% of the questions. The remaining 40-45%, yes, it is current affairs. But when you are preparing, it's always better to make your static part more thorough, because that is one thing which is very static, and once it is covered, and that gives you a sense of confidence.
Okay.
But on the other hand, the current affairs part, you can be quizzed upon a biodiversity or a new species that is found in some place which is present only in the local news of that particular newspaper edition, which you might never know.
Okay.
So there is always the probability of you not knowing the things in current affairs. So play safe with current affairs and play it hard with static part. So cover your static part thorough, and with the current affairs, choose whatever is comfortable for you. If you have a daily habit of reading the newspaper, continue with that. For me, it was more like newspaper was not a source of current affairs for me. It was more for a perception, building a good perspective to write the mains part. That was what I used my newspaper readings for, and in that the Hindu really helped, because being a newspaper with more of a socialistic touch and with an excellent language use and excellent write-ups, so that did really help with the Hindu part.
So was the static current affairs ratio which you took out in the prelim strategy, was the agenda same
more or
in
less?
mains
Yes.
exam
For
also?
example, you have GS1, which is completely static. I mean, I won't say completely, but 80 to 90% is static, and the rest 10% is again based upon the static part. So GS1 is done. Now GS4. GS4 is again, it's neither static, it's not current affairs, it's you.
Okay.
It's an ethics test. So I would suggest you don't study anything for GS4. If you have a good vocab, you only need to know what certain terms mean, because sometimes yes, UPSC do quiz you regarding the definitions. What do you mean by the word integrity, or what do you mean by the term courage? So things like that, when things like that come, having a good vocab, having a good language, it do help.
Okay.
But other than that, you don't have to study anything per se for ethics paper. Yes, sometimes you might get into trouble, because in 2016, I remember there were certain questions regarding social justice, regarding 7 sins according to Gandhi, etc. Distributive justice, these questions were asked, which I do not feel that is exactly ethics based question. These are more like questions from sociology or pub, and that's what I felt when I saw those questions. But then that will be quite same for almost everybody. You won't be exactly losing out because of those few questions, because for a good majority they will be in the same situation as you are. Plus, if you have a flair for writing, still you can write something for those questions also. Like I remember writing Gandhi's 7 sins, I actually wrote 9 sins.
Okay.
Because I did not know anything about that 7 sins. So I was like making up my own answers, thinking what Gandhi might think about sins.
So you believe in attempting maximum number of questions,
Yes.
rather than leaving those questions.
For
which
example,
we don't have an idea of.
let's come back to prelims idea. No matter how many years you have devoted, no matter how thorough you are with the subjects, you will never get more than like 50 to 60% question which you can absolutely say, yes, I know this in and out.
Okay.
But even if you are answering 50 correctly, your score will be like 100. This is assuming that you are attempting 50 and all 50 is correct. But cutoff is almost every time it is around 120. So attempting just what you know will not fetch you the cutoff mark. It's always about making guesses. It's about increasing your attempt and making those guesses, assumptions, deductions, everything better. The same is applicable for the GS papers also. I guess that do really help. I mean, you don't have to confine yourself with, I know this, I will write only this. No, because it might probably also, because I used to be a good quizzer right during my school days, and I still remember one particular incident very vividly. My school actually used to conduct the ever rolling trophy quiz competition, and we were in the finals, and I was asked that I think I was in like 7th or 8th standard, I'm not very sure. The question was asked regarding what do you mean by expand the term ESPN. I had no idea what its expansion means.
Okay.
But I made a guess, and it shocked me that it was correct.
Guess was right.
Yeah, I mean, you are expanding into like ESP and all the 4 words, entertainment and sports programming network. That was a wild guess. I had no idea what it was, but I made a guess and it came right. So at the end of the day, it's always a probability. Some people call it luck, some call it divine grace, but I prefer to keep it scientific. It's probability.
Okay. Now coming to interview. How you had attended a lot of mock interviews, right? Before going for the actual
yes,
personality
true.
test. So how far did those help for the real one?
It do help you in they do help you actually in giving you a lot of confidence.
Okay.
That's what I can think about my personal experience. Plus it gives you certain idea about certain areas where you are not very strong, because for example sometimes when you accuse regarding certain areas you tend to beat around the bush, which is not really advisable when it comes to a interview. You can do that in a mains exam but not in an interview, because you have very limited time over here, and in that limited time if you want to make an impression you need to answer the questions proper. So immediately if you don't know something you need to skip it. You need to have the courage to tell I don't know, which I did not have in the beginning.
Okay.
So these mock interviews in a way they did really help me to have that courage to tell I don't know if I don't know.
Okay. So was there a time when you actually said I don't know to the board confidently?
Yeah, I was able to do that. Even this time there were two questions I was quizzed upon and I did not know that. One was regarding the Ayushman Bharat scheme, and he asked me regarding the Ayushman Bharat scheme. I explained everything, but suddenly he asked what are the sub schemes and what are the name of the sub components of this scheme. I suddenly forgot. Immediately I said him I don't remember.
Okay.
And he was cool with that.
Okay.
And there was another panel member who asked me regarding the carbon emission of Kerala. Again, you say carbon emission in tons.
Okay.
And I had no idea how much Kerala is emitting per year.
Okay.
So I told him I don't know, and he smiled and he replied, we don't expect you to know everything.
Okay.
So that's one thing they expect as well.
Okay.
They are not expecting to find a supercomputer in front of them. They are only looking for normal humans.
Okay. Now, just one more thing about
Sure.
mains exam. Actually, most of the questions in mains exam are opinion based or
Yes.
analytical. So, how did you go through that process of, analyzing the questions and bringing out an analysis of yourself on a particular issue?
For that, I guess being an engineer always helps.
Okay.
Because being somebody from engineering background, you are always supposed to analyze the things. That's from the academic perspective, and I have always loved debating, and I've been a debater for quite a while. And again, that's one thing which really helps you, because whenever you debate, you have to analyze the things quite deep, and you have to wait for your opponent to make a mistake, and every time you have to be very cautious regarding what mistake your opponent is committing. Meaning you are very keen in watching and listening your opponent.
Okay.
So here it's like the opponent is like a question, and you need to break down the question into very simple framework, and once that is done, the analysis is done automatically.
Okay.
So you just need to have the writing speed to match it up.
Okay. So how different was your 2017 mains preparation from 16 mains? Was there any
Absolutely
lessons learned?
Absolutely no difference, because in 2016 what really caused me an entire year was my optional.
Okay.
Because I hadn't even taken any test series in Malayalam. My writing speed, I had no idea on what writing speed I'm going to be writing the exam, and I didn't even cover the syllabus completely. So everything went wrong regarding 2016 Malayalam optional.
Okay.
And at least this time I was able to correct some of them. I gave a few tests, and I knew clearly what my writing speed is, and how I can complete at least 90% of the question paper. Even this time I did not complete it. I had one or two questions left behind.
There's a general opinion that optional subject is what makes mains marks, more in favor of.
I'll say it is what breaks you.
More in favor of a name in the list. Okay, yeah. So, how well do you think it is true?
To an extent, I will agree with that, because last time Malayalam paper was relatively very easy paper.
Okay.
Which means that obviously there will be some category of people who will be scoring very high marks, and there will be some like me who are in the lower list. So that makes a huge variation in the marks, and that is quite decisive over there. But this time apparently Malayalam paper was difficult, which means that this variation is going to thin out. So probably I guess that did help me as well, because like I said, my optional is my weakest area.
Okay.
Though I wouldn't advise it to be like that, I would actually suggest that people actually ram up their optional and make it their strong area. But for me, that was my weak area.
So what
And
were the
GS
things
was-
you actually did to strengthen your weak optional subject?
Nothing except the test series.
Test series helped you.
Yeah, I did write a couple of tests, and I need to see how I am able to write the exam, if at all I'll be finishing the exam. Last time I had almost like 30 marks, 40 marks answer left behind completely because I was not able to write it.
Okay.
So this time I was able to bring it down, in combining the one and two papers. I left only 1 or 2 questions. So relatively better, though not really very good.
Okay. Now finally coming to the question, it's that prelims is coming near. It's in 3rd of June this year. So what's your message to the other aspirants out there?
I'll only suggest that revise your static part. It's very important. For that, minimum number of, you have 2 sets of books. The books you do read for studying and the books you read for the sake of reading. Increase the number of books you read just for the sake of reading. Read as many as you want, because these will subconsciously reflect in your answers, in your mains preparation. But those books which you are reading for the purpose of studying, decrease the amount. Make it 1 or 2 at the max for a subject. I will prefer 1 per subject, that's it. Revise it, because these things will give you facts and these things will give you concepts. And in my opinion, concepts are always more important than facts when it comes to mains and interview. But apparently for prelims you need facts as well. So revise the static part. Have relatively long-term plans. 3-day plan or 5-day plan or 1-week plan. Don't micromanage yourself, because that will make yourself a lot pressurized. Have a lot of breaks in between. Do some kind of physical activities, because I believe in physics. Because net stress is constant. You can either stress your mind or stress your body. So I believe that having some sort of exercise and things like that do help a lot. And parallelly, you can cover your current affairs, like every day 3 hours or 4 hours you can spend with the current affairs compilation. A lot of compilations are coming these days. You have Vision, you have Insight, you have IAS Baba. Take any one of them and continue with that. Spend like 2-3 hours a day for these compilations, and devote rest of your time for the static part revisions. So I guess that should be able to help you guys cover it completely and give you confidence at the end of the day, because that is what matters.
I'm told that Indian Foreign Service is your first option.
Yeah, my first preference is foreign service.
Okay, so how did that happen? IFS over other services? Thus, reversing the declining trend.
It has always been something which I liked since I started my preparation.
Okay.
Because I was able to interact with a couple of foreign service and defense service individuals, particularly those from foreign service, during my corporate days.
Okay.
And even after coming to Trivandrum, I had the opportunity to interact with some of them, like Sitaram sir and people like that. So that actually got me a bit inclined to foreign service. But again, like I say, it's at the end of the day a service. So it doesn't matter what service, what posting, which cadre. At the end of the day, you work.
Okay.
That's it.
Thank you, Satish. Thank you so
Pleasure.
much for spending your time with us, and
My pleasure.
congrats once again.